So I started this cutting board with some scraps, some 8/4 walnut, 5/4 cherry, and 4/4 maple, all about 13 inches long. The maple had a bit of a twist in it, so I used my planer sled to flatten one face. And once that was flat, I was able to just send it through the planer as usual. And the walnut as usual. And the cherry was pretty flat too. I love my planer. Look how nice that looks. I don't have a planer. Yes, I do. I don't have a jointer. So I used my table saw to square up all the edges on all my pieces. Luckily, most of these pieces were pretty straight, so I didn't have to whip out my jointing jig. It was pretty... Oh no! I hate when that thing falls. Anyway, now it was time to decide how thick I wanted the board to be. So I did it about a bit bigger than 1.25 inches thick, leaving some room for sanding and all of that. So I just ripped through all the pieces of the same thickness. And Micro Jig did not sponsor this video, but I do love this gripper. It just makes me feel so much safer whenever I'm using the table saw. It's really just so great. I love using it. And then finally I ripped through all the pieces until they were all the same height or thickness. Next up, it was time to cut all these pieces to length. So I used my crosscut sled with a stop block to cut them all to about 8 inches, I would say. I also just love my crosscut sled. I can't say enough about it. It just makes life so much easier and it feels safe. I know it looks really dangerous when it's in fast forward on these videos, but it does feel a lot safer. I do really love it. So I knew I wanted some sort of ombre pattern going on in this board. I just wasn't sure what kind of design. Nope, not that one. But I think this one is good. I think I'll go with this one. I just had to figure out how to glue it up. So I made this jig. It's just scraps screwed to another scrap, which isn't that what all jigs are really made out of. I just kept checking that the two angles that made up the Z shape were perfectly square. I pre-drilled all the holes as well, and after screwing down the last piece, I just made sure that it was all square again, just triple checking, quadruple checking. Oh shoot. Oh, there we go. Phew. Okay. So I lined the jig with some wax paper to prevent my pieces from sticking to the actual jig, and I started the glue up. I'm only going to glue up the first 2 layers on the jig just to create the pattern. Once the pattern is all glued up, I'm not going to need the jig anymore. It's easier to do clamping without the jig. Now you should have a Z or a zigzag or Harry Potter scar. At this point, you could just continue to do the glue up to the Z shape on the clamps. I actually ripped some 2x4s to be the same height as my clamp to help with some support of the pieces. During all the glue up, you can see them hiding in between some of the clamps there. I did this glue up in 3 stages, but I think I probably should have done it in 4 stages, but whatever, next time. That's a lot of clamps, and you still never have enough, right? After it all set up, I had something that looked like this. Pretty cool. I took it on over to the table saw and squared it up as best as I could, and it was time to sand. I used my belt sander to flatten it all up and get rid of some of the glue lines, and I had a little helper. And he just learned a really valuable lesson: don't stand behind the belt sander. Next, I cut off all the corners using my table saw and my miter sled, and onto the router. I just love how a chamfer looks on a cutting board. It's just so clean and crisp, and I absolutely love using this little router. It's just so much fun. And sanding, 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 sanding for life, and finish. I used a mineral oil and beeswax finish, and just look at that. If you have any questions, comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. There'll definitely be more of these videos coming soon.